Hey guys, welcome back to a new video. So in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to make this simple mount system. So I hop onto the horse, get on top of it, and then I move around. Yes, I know this animation is pretty shit, but this is what I'm going to work with for today. As you can see, this mount system is capable of letting the player control the horse and get off the horse and get on top of it if you want, again with animations like climbing animation, which is pretty shit too, and so much different customizations like you want. So if you want to know how I did this, please stick throughout the entire video so you can learn how to make your own mount system. By the way, please drop a sub on this channel so that I can reach my goal 2K subscribers. Okay guys, so let's do this. So I'm gonna be starting by getting a horse model. So let me go to toolbox and get a horse model. If you want to rig a horse yourself, then you could do that as well, but make sure you know how to rig and you do it properly. So let me just search horse in the toolbox and um, get the first horse which pops up, which is this. Okay, so this is the horse we're gonna use. It could be anything, it doesn't have to necessarily be a horse, but I'm gonna go with the horse. I'm gonna rename the model to a horse, and one more thing you have to do is to check if this is a proper rig. To do that, I'm gonna be using the rig edit plugin. So click on it, and if there's a good skeletal system, then it is a good rig. So as I can see here, it's all good to go. So let me just use this. Now that I have the horse model, so we have to start with the animations. So to start with the animations, I am going to need a rig as well, so we can animate the rig on top. So to do that, I am going to be first importing a rig by going to avatar and rig builder, and then let's go with a block avatar. Make sure you select the rig type as well. I'm gonna go with R15 and block avatar. So now that we have a black avatar, we have to animate both of them together. So the way we can do that is, first I'm going to drag this horse. Oh, first make sure to delete any scripts inside the horse as well if you took it from the toolbox. There are some scripts and some remote events which I don't need. I just delete them. And one more thing I forgot to mention is that the rig should not have similar names. Okay, so as you can see here, there's 4 parts with the same name, which should not be a thing. So we should rename them to some unique names, but I will show that in a bit. Okay, so now we have to connect this rig with this horse so that we can animate. So if I drag this horse into the rig and then click on a plugin and go to rig edit and click on the whole rig. Oops, hold on. Okay, so rig edit. Click on this and rig edit. Okay, so as you can see, there's this whole skeletal system, but if you want to animate both of the rig and both the rig and the horse together, then there should be one of these points connected to this rig. Okay, so these points are called mod 6D, so we just have to make one more and connect the rigs and the horse mod 6D together. So to do that, we're going to use a script, because we can even do it manually by creating mod 6D here, but I'm gonna use the script to do it. Okay, so to do that, first we are going to go inside the rig, make sure the horse is under the rig now, and put a script inside the rig. Okay, so we're gonna start by getting the rig, which is script.parent, and the horse as well. So rig.horse. Let's put wait for child horse in case it takes time to load. And then what you have to do here is create a model 60. Okay, so to do that, we have to say local model 60 equals to instance start new model 60, and the model 60 part 1. So there's part 1 and part 0 to connect each rig. So the part 1 is gonna be the rig dot primary part. One more thing I forgot to mention is the primary part should be a humanoid root part. So for this rig, it should be humanoid root part, and for this horse, every horse rig has a humanoid root part as well. So make the primary part of that to the humanoid root part of the horse. Make sure to just rename it to humanoid root part 2 or something for the horse so that we don't get it mixed up. And so we go here, and then model 60 dot part 0, part 0 is rig, no, the horse dot primary part, which in our case is going to be the humanoid root part 2, and this is going to be humanoid root part 1, which is just like that. And the next thing is we have to set the parent. Okay, so parent, the parent is going to be the rig primary part, so it's going to be the root part, the humanoid root part inside the player or the rig. And the name is gonna be anything you like, but I'm gonna keep it with horse pawn or maybe mount pawn in case we use it for other mounts as well. It's not always gonna be a horse. So the next thing is horse. Now this is done. So now we have to run the game, and it'll do something interesting. But before that, this horse humanoid root part should be anchored, so make sure it's anchored. And now let's run. Don't play the game, just run it. So if you did everything correct, this is what will happen. The rig will go inside of the horse's body. It might look a bit different for you depending on how you made the rig, but it usually will look something like this. Okay, and now what you have to do is, while you are in the game, while it's running, click on it and copy it by Ctrl C, or right click, copy, and leave the game. And first delete, after you leave the game, delete this rig and paste the new one. So this is gonna be the animation rig. Okay, so we're gonna use this to animate. So let's do that. So I'm gonna rename this to animate rig or something like that. Anything which will be easy to understand for you. And now we can start animating, but before that I think we'll get a quick little error because the names are similar. So let me just show it to you guys. Okay, my studio just glitched and I do not know how to fix this. Okay, let me just restart. Okay, so I restarted the game. Let's hope that it doesn't happen now, but let me just click on this and click on animation editor. Let's put it down here. Okay, and then when I click on it, you can see that I have an error, which is the rig contains multiple parts which share the same name. So to fix that, all you have to do is just rename everything so it's not the same. It all should be unique. So I can notice that there's two heads, one in the horse and one in the rig. So go to the horse. Don't try to rename anything in the rig, because the rig should be how it is, because that's the default R15 player rig, and if you mess with it, it will ruin the whole game. So here inside the horse, we are going to rename everything. So head 2, and then there's so many heads. I have to just number them. So heads 1 and heads 2 and heads 3. That's 4, and same with this. Let me just do them quick. Okay, so I think everything's done now. If we click on the rig and go to animation editor, this is what will pop up, which means it's working. Now we can just rename and start animating. So I'll rename this to something like horse, animation. So we'll start with the simple animations. I'm not gonna waste my time on animating this really well. It's gonna look really bad. I'm not a really good animator, but I'm gonna try my best. So we are going to be clicking on this plus and start animating. So I'm gonna start with racing the player up to the horse. So for that we can use the lower torso. So lower torso, and we just move them up somewhere there, and then the right upper leg and left upper leg. So right upper leg. So I am going to be putting the other leg up as well. So left upper leg. I cannot. Am I okay? I think I'm blind. I cannot see it. Left. Okay, so I just figured it out. I just moved the entire lower torso to the side and then clicked on the leg because this horse model was covering the leg, so I cannot click it. So yeah, I did that, and this is what I have. Let me just actually rotate the hands as well, and maybe push them a little forward and something like that. Do the same with this. Okay, so this is how it will look, and well, you can animate it more, like add more keyframes, but I'm just gonna keep it like this. And what you have to do next is make sure it's looping and click on the three dots and set animation priority to action, and then just publish it to Roblox. So let me just do that. I'm gonna rename it horse idle. That's gonna be the idle animation. Now there should be one for uh, running animation. Running is technically involving the horse, so I'm gonna make the worst horse animation ever because I don't wanna waste time. So here I am gonna just select both of the horse limbs, just maybe rotate it like that, and take the back and send it back. I know this is not how horses run, but I'm not gonna really waste my time here. So I'm using the idle animation for it because it should look idle for it to work. So I mean, not for it to work, but then it'll look better if it's like this. Okay. And one more thing, copy the first frames and put it back here, and then put it on loop. Okay, that's too fast. I just noticed a Roblox bug where like we cannot see the keyframes, and I do not have any fix for it right now. So if you face that, then you might have to use Moon Animator or something like that. I'm gonna actually keep it like this. It's so bad, I know, but I'm sorry, I cannot really work on it right now. Maybe even give it like a bounce whenever we're writing, like that. And maybe like that. Okay, it looks really bad as of now, but I'm gonna just use that because yeah. So let's publish this to Roblox as well. It should be looping with the animation priority to action, and there's gonna be a horse running, something like that, and submit and close. So now you can even add a climbing animation. For that, I am going to be importing the idle animation. So toss idle, submit, And then I'm going to use this as I'm going to move this key from front and bring the character back down. Oops, lower torso. Back down and rotation and just do a quick climbing animation. Something like that, and somewhere here, let me just okay, so this is the animation now. That's how the player will climb the horse. Okay, so it looks really bad, but yeah. And make sure this is not looping and the animation priority to action as always. And publish this to Roblox as well. And this is going to be called horse climbing. Anything you want to name it, it doesn't really matter, but I'm just going to keep it like that. Okay, so now that's done. Let's go out of it. So this is going to be our animation rig, and that's what we have to do. Now let's put it aside somewhere far. But inside that there's the horse. Okay, so we need a horse in the game for the player to climb. So I'm gonna copy that horse, only the horse, and paste it. And only bring the horse here so the player can climb on it. Okay. So now we have that. Now we have to go to the scripting part of the video. So let's do that. So for that, we're going to be starting by making a script in script service and renaming it to anything I like. I'm just going to keep it like that for now. I have no idea what I'm going to name it. And we are going to be making a value, object value for the mount. Actually, let me show you to you guys how this will work. Okay, so this is a quick whiteboard tutorial on what I'm going to be doing. So for this mount to work, I'm going to have a value inside this player. This player is going to be holding a value called mount, and it's going to be an object value. So of course it's going to hold some type of object, and in our case we are going to be holding this horse. So to hold this horse inside that value, okay, we need to make the player interact. So for example, this is the player. He's gonna go interact with the horse, I don't know, by pressing E or something like that. And then when it's interacted, that we're gonna use that event to change this mount value to the horse. Okay, so when it's horse, there will be another event, another function which is waiting for this mount to be changed. So whenever this mount value is changed, in our case to horse, it will fire a event in which we will rig that extra bond we made. So if you remember, we made an extra bond called horse bond, which is only in the animation. For the animation rig, we need to connect it with our player rig. Okay, so our player rig. So for that, to connect it, we need to create a new Motor 60. So we create a new Motor 60, and this Motor 60 is gonna make the player binded with the horse, in which, oh no, we used a mount bone. Okay, we didn't use horse bone, we used mount bone, and it's gonna connect with this horse. And then when we connect, we can play the animations, which it will work. If we don't connect these bones, then it would not play the animations properly. So make sure you connect the bones as well. That's why we use the Motor 60. That's like technically a joint of the bone which you are going to connect. So we create that, and then once we create that, we're going to do the other parts, which is setting the animation of the running, climbing, and everything like that. And then we are going to be even making it so when we press shift or some key, we'll get off the horse. And when we get off the horse, so when a player gets off the horse, it's going to run a new function And in that new function, we are going to be breaking this bone, okay? So we're going to break that connection so that this horse will be its own single entity again, and this player will be its own single entity. So there's no connection, which means the animations will be broken, and yeah, and we don't control the horse anymore. So I don't know if I made sense doing this, but I hope you all understood at least a bit. And now let's make this come to life in the game. So I'm in the game now, so let's go back to the script, and we are going to be starting by player added connect to a function. The reason we're using the player added is whenever a player is added, we need to create the mount value inside them. So instance.new object value, and it's going to be inside the player, and the mount.name is going to be mount. So we did the first part of it. As you can see, we made this mount value, and now we have to make this function, this event which is waiting for this mount value to be changed. Okay, so to do that, we're going to use mount get property change signal value and connect to a function, and this is going to be that function. This is going to be this function, and as you can see, we create the model60 if it's changed, right? So when the object value is changed, it should be the horse model. Okay, so when the player interacts with his horse model, this is going to be the value for this mount. Okay, so if it's not, then it's going to be empty, so we need to make sure it is. So we're going to say if mount value, then okay, so or we can say if not mount value, then return, and that's much more easier. So what this does is if the if mount value is empty, then it will return and not do anything. So but if the mount value is not empty, that means the player is in the horse, which means it's technically gonna be local horse equals to mount dot value. Okay, and now that we have that, we are going to create the model60. So we shall do that. For that we are going to say local model60 is the instance dot new model60, and we do the same thing we did in the script earlier. So if you go to the animation rig, by the way, disable this now because you don't need that script anymore, but inside that we're going to do this same thing. So I'm actually going to copy and paste it here, but instead of the rig, it's gonna be the player. Okay, so let's get the character for that. So I'm gonna come up here and say local character. Actually, let's do it here. Local character equals to player dot character or player dot character added colon weight. So that will get the character, and let's come back here. So instead of the rig, it should be character, and instead of the horse, well, it's the horse. So let me just change this to a horse. Actually, let me just keep it simple. Oops, horse and character and mount bone. Okay, so yeah, that's how it is. And the next thing is, if you remember, this horse humanoid root part is anchored, and let it be anchored. If not, it will fall through the map. And what you're gonna do is set the model60, the horse primary part dot anchored to false, and before that we need to set the horse primary part dot cframe equals to character primary part dot cframe, because when the player gets on the horse, the horse should kind of come close to the player. Okay, or you can make the player go to the horse, but I recommend getting the horse to the player. And then we need to even set the parent of the horse to the character. So we simply do this, and this should actually do what we want it to do. But for that, for this function to fire, we need the player to go interact with the horse by pressing E. So let's even do a quick interaction script. So I'm gonna do that using a proximity prompt. So let's go to horse and humanoid road part 2. I'm gonna put a proximity prompt and inside that put a script. So we're gonna say PP for the proximity prompt, and the horse is gonna be script of parent of parent of parent. It's just gonna be the horse model, and we are gonna be saying PP triggered connect to a function. So this is technically an event which is gonna fire whenever the player presses E. Um, so whenever we trigger, we are gonna get the mount. Okay, so let me just rename this player who triggered in case you all don't understand. So if no local mount player who triggered, wait for child mount, and we're gonna see if mount.value is if not mount.value. So we need to make sure that the player is not already in another mount. For that we're gonna use this if not mount.value. Okay. If not mount.value, then we can get onto the horse. So we are going to be saying mount.value equals to horse. That's it. That's what we have to do here, and pp.enabled false, because whenever we get on the horse, we need to make sure that the proximity prompt is not enabled so others cannot interact with it. And one more thing is we're gonna go down here and say horse get property change signal parent connect to a function. So why we're gonna do this is because whenever the player is back in the workspace, it should enable the PP again. So if horse.parent equals to workspace, then pp.enabled equals to true, because that means the player got out of the horse, which means it's available for others to get on. So now let's play it and see if there's any errors, and it's working well. So I always check the output to see if you have any errors. Nope. Okay. We just clear it and go close. Okay, I forgot one more thing, which is click on the proximity prompt, and there's something called requires line of sight. Turn that off, and now go back into the game. So now let me load in. Okay, so let me go to the horse interact. Okay, so we have a problem here, guys. As you can see, we just got teleported to this place out of the map. Let's see what's wrong and why this is happening. Okay guys, so I just figured out what the problem is. It's just that since I took this from Toolbox, it had some unnecessary objects inside it. Like inside this humanoid root part, there's a body gyro which prevented my script from working. So delete that, and there's even an extra part which I don't need. So I think I'll delete that as well. Okay. Okay. Now let's try it. Okay, so when I interact, as you can see, it worked, and I am on the horse. Technically, I'm not on the horse yet because the animation has to play, but for now it works. And let me show you a quick way we can test if the animations are working well. So the way we're gonna set the animations is using a thing inside of Roblox. So if you go to workspace and go to the player, it's minicrew, is my username, and we go to the animate script, and there's run. Okay, there's a value called run, and this run anim, if we put our ID, the one we exported, then we can check if it works. So let me go here and go to my models and go to my animations and try to get the running animation. So horse running, I copy that asset ID and paste it here. Okay, so as you can see, now when I move around, although the animation is really bad, I wish I had a better one. Actually I do, but I don't think it'll work with this. So as you can see, it's working, and then when we stop, it goes down because we didn't set the idle. So let's go here and find the idle. There's two animations for idle, so we need to replace both. So horse idle, put this here and put this here. Okay, so as you can see now it properly works. But this is temporary because we came here and manipulated it, but we have to do this through the script. And now as you can see, when I move around, it's working properly. I wish the animations looked better because then would have been smoother, but yeah, so the mount works. So now we just have to do it through the script. So let's do that. So for that, I am going to be going to start a character scripts. So start a player. I'll just extend this a bit. And local script in starter character scripts. You can rename this to anything you like. I'm just going to keep the local script again because I don't know what to name it right now. But local character script parent, since it's under the character scripts, and local humanoid is character wait for child humanoid, and local animate is going to be that script we found inside the character. So character wait for child animate, and then we need to get the run value inside it. So animate wait for child run, and even the idle value inside it. So idle value wait for child idle. So we saw all of this inside the player before, and that's what we technically got. And now we need the player as well, player, and we need the mount from the player. And the next thing we need is the run ID. So the run ID is technically going to be the default player ID, okay, the player animation. I will explain in a bit what that means. So run ID is going to be run value wait for child run anim dot animation ID. Let's do the same with the idle ID. Run value wait for child run idle anim dot animation ID. And then we need the climbing animation. For that we cannot use the run or idle. For that we need to load our own animation and play it. So climbing anim equals to instance start new animation. It's gonna be inside the script, and we are gonna have a idle anim again as well. I'll explain that in a bit as well. And then we're gonna have something called idle loaded, which is gonna be empty for now, and we're gonna have footsteps, which is gonna be new. Footsteps is technically for the sounds, because I'm gonna show you guys how to even add the footstep sounds as well. So now we're gonna go down. So these are gonna be our variables for now, and so now we are going to again use the get property change signal value to check if the mount is changed. So get property change signal value, connect to a function. Function. Just delete that. Okay. So whenever the property, the mount value is changed, we need to check if the mount value, if the player is on a horse. Okay. So if mount value is not new, then that means the player is on a horse. Okay. So player is on a mount. Okay. So if the player is on a mount, then we need to change the animations to the correct mount. Okay. So let's first say here. So as you can see, I always used horse, but if you want like dragons and stuff like that, then I recommend using mount instead of horse. But I'm gonna just say horse because I started with it, and say mount.value. And now we have to do one more thing, which is we need to click on the horse and go down in properties, and there's something called attributes. We have to click on attributes and start adding some attributes. I think we need only 3. So the first is idle, and then click on the plus and running, and then climbing. So for each of these attributes, I want you to go to toolbox and find the animations you all published. So in my case, it's this horse climbing. Let me just copy that and paste it here. And horse running, copy asset ID, paste it there. And horse idle, copy asset ID and paste it there. So now that we have that, we have to yeah, we're gonna use those. So the reason I did this is because it's easier then. So if you want another type of horse, you can just duplicate, change colors, and if you want different animations for this horse, all you have to do is click on it and change the animations here. So yeah, it won't be entitled to one animation. So let's go back here and start getting the animations. So climbing anim, that animation ID equals to RBX asset ID and something like that, and then horse get attribute running. We do the same with the idle as well, but for that we need to use 2 because there's animation 1 and animation 2. It's gonna be idle value. Here you can make, if you want 2 idle animations, you can animate 2 idle animations and put 1 for each. So you can keep this as idle 1 and idle 2, and inside the horse attribute put idle 1 and idle 2 as well here. But for now I'm just going to keep both of the animations the same idle animation. Okay, so both is gonna just act the same. Now this should actually work if you go into the game, but there's one more thing we have to do, which is actually no, we'll actually test this and then do that. So now let me play. Okay, so now let's test this out. So when I interact, it played the animation, as you can see, although it kind of teleported the player here. Before doing that, we can fix that by just teleporting the player here. But as you can see, we got on, and if you move around, it's working well. Now we actually done with that. Now all we have to do is make it so the player make it so there's a footstep sound for the horse, and when the player gets down, it's gonna a button so the player can unmount from this horse. So let's do that. Let's do the unmounting now. Actually, let's start with the footsteps. Let me show you how to do the footsteps. Okay, so for the footsteps, we first need a footstep sound. So inside the horse, we can either use attributes to give an ID, but I am going to we actually have some sounds in this model as well. I'm not going to use any of these sounds. Okay, so I got this footstep sound. I found it off the toolbox. So let me just increase the desktop audio so you can hear. This is what I want to use. I know it doesn't sound like a horse, but that's what I'm going to be using. So let's go back to the script and make sure you name it footsteps inside horse. And here we can just say, okay, so we're going to just say, so if you remember this footsteps nil thing, right? So for now it's nil, but if we set it to something, then it's going to play, okay? So all you have to do here is say, if horse find first child footsteps, then footsteps equals to horse find first child. No, actually I got an easier way. You can just do this. Just cut this and just say footsteps equals to or nil. Okay, so if this is not true, then it will be set to nil. So either way, when it's nil, it won't work. So now let's go down here and make it so it will make those sounds. For that, we just have to detect if the player is moving. So do that, we can just say humanoid get property change signal, move a direction, connect to a function, and we're going to say if humanoid dot move direction dot magnitude is bigger than 0, then the player is moving. Okay. Then if mount dot value and footsteps and not footsteps dot playing, then so if the footsteps aren't already playing, then footsteps play, and come back here and say else. That means the player stopped moving, which means we're gonna say if footsteps then and footsteps. No, if footsteps then footsteps stop. That's what we technically do. Now this should actually work with the sound, so let me see. Okay, so now let's get on top of the mount. As you can see, it works even though the animation is too bad. I cannot get over it, but yeah. The next thing is we have to make a keybind so that the player can get off the horse. So let's go back to the local script. For this, we might have to use a remote event as well. So let's go to replicate storage, make a remote event, and name it mount event. And come back in the top here. Let's get the replicate storage. Local replicated storage. And then the mount event. So local mount event. Replicate storage with mount event. And then come back down here and we call we even need user input service, so let me just get that as well. Local user input service game get service user input service, and come back here and say user input service input began connect to a function key input if input dot key code nm dot key code dot. Now this is where you put any key you want for the player to get off the horse. So I'm gonna say left shift, and then if the player is on a horse, okay, so we need to check if mount dot value, then if the player is on a horse, then we're gonna say if the player is already and we need, if you remember, there's something called idle loaded. We had to stop playing it when the player gets off the horse. So say if idle loaded, then idle loaded stop end, and then we just say mount event fire server, and we're gonna in string say unmount. So now that part is done. By the way, this idle loaded I forgot to explain. So if we remove this idle loaded, so I'm gonna just stop playing it and go inside the game. When the player finishes climbing the when the climb animation is played, it's gonna go back to how it was, as you can see, and then when we move, it's gonna happen. It's gonna play the idle animation, which we don't want. That's why we always have an extra idle animation playing, okay, so that it won't happen. Just avoid unnecessary bugs. And here, now that we fired the server, we need to go to the server side. I'm gonna use not the triggered script. We're gonna go to this script, the player added script, and get the same variables, which is this, and mount event. We're gonna come all the way down here. Mount event on server event connect to a function, and I'm gonna say player. This is gonna be the player, and then this is gonna be the stat, which is gonna be a string. What the stat is technically is the status, and the status is gonna be unmount. So if stat equals to unmount, then we are going to unmount the player. Okay, now we have to run a script so it will unmount, do a function which will unmount the player. So for that we first need the mount, which is player. I'll find first child mount, and then we need the character. Mount, oh no, player.character, player.character, added weight, and then we need the horse. So we will actually check if there's still the horse in it. So we'll say if mount.value, if not mount.value, that means we don't have to unmount, then return end. So we don't need to unmount. Prompts a bug. Okay, some bug, like I don't know, someone spammed it or something like that. So this will prevent any bugs. Okay, prompts a bug, so it will prevent. Let me set that out. So here we are gonna say local horse equals to mount.value and local horse.primary part dot anchored equals to true. So we need to first set the horse primary parts anchored to true, because if you're gonna unbind it from the player, then it's on its own, so it should be anchored again. Okay, and then let's say if character the primary part find first child, and we need to find the mount born, then we are going to copy this again. We need to destroy that. That's the bind. Okay, this was the mod 60 which binded the player and the horse. So if you destroy that, the complete rig is done. The player will be on its own and the character will be on its own. So we can use a game get service debris, add item, and we're going to paste that and say 0.1. That will technically destroy the item. And the next thing is we're going to go out of that and say character.primary part dot cframe equals horse dot primary part dot cframe into cframe dot new minus 500. So this will technically get the player out of the horse's body, just move the player. And actually let me set this and destroy. That's better. And then here we're gonna say horse, we're gonna set the horse dot parent to workspace and mount dot value to nil. So when we set the horse dot parent to workspace, if you remember, inside the horse proximity prompt, whenever the parent is set to workspace, the PP will be enabled. So technically everything will add up and work. And the mount value should be empty because now the player is not in any mount. So now let's play it and see if it works. So I interact, get on the horse, and when I press shift, yeah, we got off it, but I forgot to do one more thing, which is change the animations back to the player's animation. Okay, so let's do that. So to do that, we have to go here to the local script, and here we're going to say if the player is on the mount, then this will run. But if you come here before this end and say else, that means the player got off the mount. Okay, in which we change the animations back to the old animations. That's where so we run animation ID. That's where we use run ID. Okay, so technically what this run ID was is that we cut the player's default animations right before everything else, so that we can set it back to that when the player is off the mount. Okay, that's what it means. Okay, so now let's do the same with the idle value for this. That's animation ID Actually, there's two animations for it, so your player might have two animations. So here I'm going to say ID1 and copy it, idle ID2 and set this animation to. So here we can technically set this to 1 and idle value of that animation 2 equals to animation ID equals to idle ID2. Okay, so that should work, and then even the footsteps should be nil again. So this should fix every problem we have and get everything working properly. So yeah, now that's done. So let's now go into the game and see if it works. If it does, then we're officially done with this tutorial. So interact, got on the horse, and now I can move around. There's the footstep sound, and let me increase the volume. There's the footstep sound, as you can see, and if I press shift, we cut off the horse, and it's back to our normal animations, and we can get back on the horse, and it works. So yeah, that works. Okay, so that means we are done with this tutorial. Now you could add this script. I recommend using mount instead of horse for everything. Every time I used horse. So for example, in script, every time I used horse, instead of that, use something like mount object or something like that, because there might be other animals you want to use, so that's why you can do that. But now that we are done, that's how we do it, and I can even just duplicate this and change colors in few horses if you like. Let's make a pink horse, and let's make this maybe white horse. Okay, and now we can yeah, ride all the horses in the game. So let me go with the pink one first. Get on top of it, and there you go. It works. And get off it, and get on top of this, and there you go, it works. And as you can see, if I press E on this, it won't work because we're already on a mount. You just get off the mount and then come here and press it. Okay. So guys, it works. As you can see, so yeah, that's it for today, guys. Hope you enjoy. Please subscribe for more tutorials like this. Anyway, see you guys in the next one. Peace.